This is a Geek Leader podcast, and I'm your host, John Rauda. This show is all about helping us grow as leaders, become better technologists, and improve our lives both at work and at home. I hope you enjoy the show and learn a lot. Welcome to a Geek Leader podcast. I'm your host, John Rauda. And if you could, please do me a favor and take a moment and leave a rating and review in whatever podcast player you're listening to this on, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, doesn't matter. I would greatly appreciate it. And that feedback really helps get other listeners to the show. Also, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you feel so inclined, you can go to geekleader.com/tip and donate to the show. Thanks so much. All right, Geek Leader, today I'm honored to have Ben Johnson on the show. He is a serial technical co-founder and the CEO and founder of Particle41, which is a development firm, which helps companies accelerate their development and their software processes, their DevOps, data science, and all that good stuff. Anyway, we're going to talk about that a lot today. With all that being said, Ben, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, John. So happy to be here.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just tell the audience a little bit about your background, how you got into technology in general, and what is it that you do today?
Yeah, so I've been a geek for as long as I can remember. I even saw my mom had some photo book over, and I was wearing some computer shirt when I was in first grade. So, but I call myself a serial technical co-founder. Because I love finding a founder that knows their industry and knows what they want to accomplish in the marketplace, and then I come behind them for all the tech bits. And so, done a business in travel, a couple of online advertising companies where we had to get super good at software development, data and data science, and cloud platform engineering or DevOps. And out of doing it with many of the same people I started the first travel company with, they're still with me. My business partner was my first tech lead on the travel company. My head of DevOps was head of hardware and infrastructure at that first travel company.
Nice.
So Particle41 really was born out of hey, we keep doing this. Why don't we start a services company and do it for other people and just let our expertise be an asset to them.
Nice. Yeah, I love it when you find a group of people that have worked together and they've really, gelled well and been able to build that into something even larger and greater.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about the name Particle41 and where that came from.
Yeah, so I think the story goes that I was listening to a Daniel Suarez book, and a really cool science fiction book, very entertaining, called Influx. And at the beginning of the book, Lab 41 or Lab 44 or something like this, it builds anti-gravity. And so I started thinking of that and then looking at the periodic table. And niobium is a really cool element. It's the 41st element in the periodic table. And what people do with niobium is they add it to steel, and it makes steel more flexible, and also it gives it an anodized sheen. So it makes it stronger, more flexible, makes it look better. I'm like, hey, that's the kind of element I want to be as people are working with us. And so, Particle41, we exist to help businesses be stronger, more flexible, and have better products, and just kind of stuck.
Nice. I like that concept too, because, the idea of augmenting your team is to become better, to become faster, stronger, better, get things to market a little bit better, and just all in all improve. It's almost like that. What's that? What commercial was it? 3M. We don't make a lot of the products you buy. We make a lot of the products you buy better. And I feel like that's what you're talking about doing with the development team. We don't make your development team. We make your development team better. And we don't make your company. We make your company better.
That's right. I think later on, as my brother is a chief warrant officer in the Army, my dad was in the military. My other brother was in the military. So I have all these, and then even my CEO coach is a former Green Beret. So then we started bringing in this idea of being elite specialized teams, and we've modeled the way that we perform service a lot on how like a special operations team would perform service with excellence, not according to the minimum standard, but according to the best of our abilities. And so we brought in the core values of elite, um, empowering leadership, innovation, teamwork, and excellence. So we brought in this, we kind of stepped away from the lab and science, and kind of brought in this idea of being special operators for a business's mission.
No, I love that. And, I have to say, we've had many guests on the show from Navy SEALs to, generals and we get a lot of value out of talking to those elite special forces when it comes to just leadership concepts and ideas. And I think anytime you can take that experience of combat and special operations and bring that into the business world, it makes a huge difference. And I think that's a really cool thing you're doing there.
That's cool. Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about what it's like, to have an engagement with a company. Like how does it start? What are the steps and processes that you go through to operate this, and how do you know if you're successful or not?
Yeah. So first off, we want to understand what is the mission that the company is trying to execute. So is it, is it to application modernize? Is it to have a new, shinier product that was loosely represented by something older? Or is it a brand new greenfield product to go tackle a new market segment? Whatever it is, we want to really understand what is that objective? What is the thing that they want to accomplish? And then we put a specialized team together to go accomplish it and be aligned to that mission. So if they need CTO advisory, if they need an extra QA person, whatever it is, however we can help, we align our team to their mission. And then they just subscribe monthly to that team. So we kind of take the best of outcome-based projects and staff augmentation, and we bring it together, and we manage a specialized team to go accomplish their mission according to their direction. So where many firms will do staff augmentation, where it's kind of bodies for hire, and then you have to manage those bodies, or whether it's very fixed solution outcomes, there's something missing. And so we've merged those two models to be to just deliver mission aligned teams. And so we measure success based on the success of that outcome. We want to align to what the client's goals are. So if the clients were trying to make their product convert better or have a broader market appeal, when we celebrate results internally, it's because the client is celebrating the results in their business.
So do you guys use like OKRs or something like that to help define those outcomes that they're looking for?
Absolutely. So SMART goals, OKRs, we definitely want to understand the KPIs that drive the business forward and align ourselves to that. But then in software development, you have the main KPI, which is velocity. So how many stories are we building, or how many stories are we delivering, and they're being accepted by the client in a 2-week interval sprint. And so all of our teams are very velocity aligned. So what can we do, whether that be better, higher quality meetings with the client, better design, whatever it means to ensure that we're delivering velocity. So velocity is really our core metric internally. And then we have a scorecard for every team that makes sure we have approved architecture and all these kind of standards are in place so that we're delivering world-class solutions.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think that's the way to do it. Do you ever have like situations where the client wants to apply value to those to that velocity? For example, like what is the return on investment when it comes to the velocity that you do, and if so, how do you accommodate something like that?
Yeah, so that's what CTO advisory really covers is, hey, how do we know we're building the right thing? And we do that separately from the dev team. The dev team's really focused on, hey, do I have the bits and bytes in the right place? Am I writing code? Is that code being accepted by the client? Are we QAing that fully? Is it following best practices? They're kind of working on just the layer above the feature objective. And so, yeah, we want to make sure that the rocks, to use the EOS term, the rocks or the epics, the larger pieces of work are aligned to what the client wants to accomplish. And so we're usually talking to leadership and stakeholders about that. And then we're breaking that down into the technical tasks that need to be executed with velocity.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting. How is it that you go about like sprint zero or determining what that mission is to align the right team? What's that process like when that initial engagement? You mentioned you not just want to find out put bodies in there, and you don't want to just come up with solutions. You actually want to align with that mission. A lot of times, we don't exactly know our mission. uh,
Yeah.
how is it that we find out what that is and pull that out of people?
Yeah, no. So, questions precede clarity. So we have to be really good at asking questions in in that early stage. Um, it's happened to me before. A client wants to set up a new ERP and they're using a legacy ERP that's not suiting their business anymore. So
Mhm.
I go in and I propose the data migration bits and they're like, wait a minute, we need some help with our internal staff to learn the new ERP. And so how are you covering that in the engagement? And so many businesses, they don't just need the technical bits to be executed, but they need the consulting layer on top of it to make sure that the investment is being adopted and utilized. And so we're here for that. We have to ask those questions. Wait a minute, you're about to incur a bunch of organizational change. How are your folks going to adopt to that? Is there some help you need there? And just make sure that we're listening for not just the coding, not just the data movement or the data migration, but also the user behavior change. And so we do things like, if you're building a product, do you have the right analytics involved? If you're migrating to cloud, do you have enough observability to be able to debug the solution? And since we've been doing this a long time, and my partners and I are entrepreneurs ourselves, we just help ask those questions to think about the product holistically. This is an issue with a lot of ProServe partners. A lot of ProServe folks will go draw up the solution, say, "Hey, is this what you want?" It's a diagram of sorts or some architectural blueprints, and they just go quote the hours that it takes to put those objects on the page to make that solution happen. And oftentimes that leaves the business with a burden of the burden of change, the burden of adoption. And so we want to make sure that we're listening not just for the hard skills, but the soft skills as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the, when I think about communication, you mentioned soft skills, and I like, I think soft skills are hard personally, especially for people like me in tech, and communication is one of them. When it comes to being able to simplify um, the information on those diagrams or whatever that a lot of um, people will produce, it can be overwhelming for a business leader to look at that and really understand what they're getting out of that and how that aligns to their mission. Um, how have you been able to develop that communication? Is it because of entrepreneurship and being in those positions as well that you can kind of bridge the gap and be a liaison between the technical world and the business world?
Yeah, and I think to be quite frank, I think you have to risk the deal. So I think you have to, at the very beginning, you have to say, "Hey, look, uh, building a SaaS tool or building an internal solution is not for the faint of heart. There is an amount of work that we need to do that you can't see." And be really clear on, when is the point where you're going to be able to see stuff. We love to demonstrate work in progress. Some business leaders don't like to see how the sausage is made. They're hyper focused on the end result.
Yeah.
And so you have to say, "Look, I know you want the end result, but there is some foundational things that we need to do. And if you don't get those things done correctly, your result might look like it's being achieved, but you're gonna miss the mark."
Mm.
But we also don't want to build a spaceship when they just need to get to the next state. So I think I can honestly say, because people have told me this, is we are really good at what is the right size, so making scale appropriate decisions or stage appropriate decisions, that this solution is right for the business. We're not going to propose some enterprise grade thing for a small business that's making a couple $1,000,000 a year. We're going to find the right solution that fits their current stage, make sure that solution is engineered well and creates future opportunity. One example of this is we don't build apps that don't have APIs. So that separation between the API and the UI, we do that for every app so that when they want to increase mobility, when they want to have B2B relationships, it's already there because that's creating that future opportunity. So we really want to juggle the vision between immediate effect and future opportunity, and make sure that the solution is stage appropriate, but not too much too soon.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. I think it's an important balance that you have to do there. One of the things you had on your site when I was looking through it was you talked about the three V's: the visibility, velocity, and vision. We talked a little bit about velocity already, but can you go up over that and how that correlates with the culture that you're building?
Yeah, so velocity is key. Like I said, that's key. Vision is really about what I just mentioned, making sure that we're thinking ahead and we're aligned to their mission. And so, yeah, visibility, velocity, and vision is kind of core. But what we think that all wraps up to is dependability, and dependability, being a dependable partner for our clients is the number one thing. So we kind of have an equation that the three V's, or the three cubed, equals dependability, and we want to be the dependable partners, which means we need to do the things that we say we're going to do. If we say we're going to have a demo on Friday, we have the demo on Friday no matter what. And just that makes every one of our teammates communicates directly with their client. We don't put a lot of interference layer. We have project managers on every project, but every client can see a daily update, a virtual stand-up, if you will, from every member of the team. And so where a lot of companies like ours will put some kind of intermediary in between you and the dev team. We make everything that the dev team is doing visible to the client so they can see the Jira stories, that they can see the work in progress. They know what everybody's working on the team. And that means that our teammates have to be ready for that and make every day count.
I think that's great. I've worked, I've been in tech for a long time now, and I've had teams that have come in and they put that gatekeeper, I guess you would say, in between the development team and our team, to where you had to send everything through. And sometimes they'll use like a tool as the gatekeeper, which is even worse. Where like you have to send this to Basecamp, and Basecamp will then communicate it, and all responses have to go there. And not being able to like actually, Teams message someone or send a Slack message and just ask a question or clarify something. You have to wait until you get that Basecamp response and then reply to it. And it just slows down the process. And also offers that it's almost like playing the telephone game where you don't really quite get a full picture of what the communication chain is and what's happening until sometimes it's too late. Till sometimes there's that, code push or that merge that goes in and you're like, what is this? This is not what we expected at all.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We just want to have a personal relationship at all layers, make sure that we're having that developer communication. I mean, our teammates are trained in training.
Mm.
So a good engagement for us is one that we're successful in delivering the product, and their internal team is learning. We're learning from them about their core business, and they're learning from us about the tech that we're executing. And so that's a recipe for success, where there's not information being held back, but information being freely shared. And behind the scenes, we have whole communities of practice that are exercising this, where if we come up with a reference architecture or we solve the latest AI RAG solution, that information is shared internally so that the next one is even better and the next one's even better than that. So we have communities of practice that are sharing the know-how, and you can go to somebody internally. Like, expertise is the currency. So you can lead a situation if you have expertise and you've done it before, then you're the leader of that situation.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Um, how is it that you go about you know, ending an engagement, or do you, or is it something you plan on like continuing forever? Because a lot of times, people will have a budget for a certain, milestone or event, and after that, like support's got to take over, or they've got to switch to a different plan. Especially when you're launching like a new business unit or something to that effect. How do you guys go about transitioning that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways that that happens. I personally, um, in in one regard, I love it when that happens. I love it when we're fired for our success, right?
Oh yeah.
We came in and we knock it out of the park. However, what I've found is that if you're a good special operations team and you recover one set of hostages, then they're going to find another set of hostages for you to go recover. And so, typically, our engagements are long because the skills gap that brought them to us in the first place doesn't just go away, and the internal team starts to depend on the skills that are part of the team that we're delivering. And so, the objective may change, but the benefits to having this outside team that has seen this and done this before and has access to people who've been exposed to many projects still holds a certain benefit. Um, so we will typically kind of shift down until a new objective is understood and kind of go into a support mode. We have as a service projects where it just becomes a ticket-based system and we'll address those support requests as they come. Um, but we love just figuring out what other missions we can help the client with. I've had one client for 7 years because we're
Wow.
just a solid partner with them, and it just kind of learned each other, and it just works.
Yeah, I think that's great when you can build that kind of relationship. Um, you know, I don't want to say with the vendor, it's really like with a partner because you become, yeah, part of the team at that point. And I think that's always a good approach. Tell me a little bit about your team in general and kind of how you what you're looking for when you're hiring people, what kind of culture you're trying to build, and how you work together as a group.
Yeah. So it's a great question. We've really invested in our recruiting process. When you'll see this, tall, 6'2", 240-pound guy, there's like a burly dude, and he didn't make it into the teams, into like the SEAL teams. Everybody just goes, "Yep, something must be wrong," right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they trust the process, and so we put a lot of time in selection criteria. And it starts with an AI matching of the resume to the job description. I'll share about that. We make sure, I've seen from our scoring, our AI scoring, a really low score. Guy has 20 years of experience. The job was a data engineer, and you look at the job description, and he's been working on SAP for 20 years. Like, that's not a fit when we're talking about modern cloud services. So just that first weed out based on, hey, does the resume match the job description? And we've automated that. But then we send them an assessment. So if they have a high enough matching score, we send them an assessment. We use CoderByte to do this. And CoderByte's really good because it has AI detection. The tasks in there are pretty simple. Like if they're going to be able to hang on our elite teams, they should be able to do the CoderByte assessment in 30, 45 minutes without leaving the browser. And so CoderByte manages if they shift out of the browser, it decrements their score. If they're using AI or they're having to do a bunch of Google searches, we can tell from the assessment. And so some people don't fully understand that. And so if they low score on the CoderByte, we'll send them an email and say, hey, you got to take this seriously. But if they do well on the CoderByte score, then we guarantee them an interview. Our practice leads will set up a little panel. A couple of people will interview them. We make it really efficient for the candidate, and we'll kind of have a little grilling session from the practice. Make sure it's somebody that we want to hang with, and if that all goes well, then there'll be a candidate for hiring. So, so yeah, in a nutshell, that's how we do it. We make it really efficient, but it's a pretty stiff selection criteria. We typically don't work with people with less than 3 years of experience in the specific discipline that we're looking for.
Gotcha. So you really are all in on that elite services, looking for the best. And I like the fact you're using tools to help you, um, you know, not just weed out the initial resume, but also like the testing and tools that will also look for people. I don't want to say cheating, but using other other sources to help them.
Yeah. Yeah, if they can't pass the assessment that we're serving them with their own information, like with their own knowledge,
Mhm.
then they're going to have trouble on a day to day. And we don't want to set anybody up for failure. Um, it's going to be really long days if you're having to Google some of the basics. Um, and so we want to make sure that they can come in and they got enough natural fluency with the kind of problems that we're working on that they're going to feel confident. Imposter syndrome is an awful feeling, and I
Mhm.
know we all experience it, but it's an awful feeling if you don't quite feel right in your role. We want folks to feel confident because we're going to press velocity when we're in an engagement.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think it's, imposter syndrome. It's one of those things where we all always feel like, someone's going to, find us out or whatever it is. And I found it more and more so in tech because there's so many people that have, good backgrounds, but they've worked in a specific industry doing a specific thing. And, when they get outside of that, they're really green, even though they may have 10 years of experience of, you know, uh, working, in software development, but they've only worked on COBOL or something like that. That's, completely useless when it comes to, you know, uh, a more modern front end type development, language or something to that
Yeah,
effect. So,
totally. Totally. And then when we're panel interviewing, we're really sussing out their aptitude for self-learning. So every
Mhm.
team member has access, a full license to Udemy. So we really stress certifications and self-learning. And in order for you to advance in rank internally, you have to get certifications, and you can choose your own path. So if you maybe you're a software developer and you want to learn more about DevOps, or you're a software developer and you want to learn more about data science, we'll totally encourage that. And then we'll bonus you based on achieving those certifications. So we love people who are self-learning, and this kind of also matches the military model of like as you advance, you go through some additional training and classes to get that increased rank. And so yeah, we love that. That's why we give everybody a Udemy license, and we just want people who have that aptitude. Tech is so, I wouldn't call it, I don't know if fragmented is the right word, but it's so layered. You have to know a little bit about a lot of different layers, and then you have to get really fluent in some of them. And so while we're looking for that fluency in kind of the core skill, we're also looking for that adaptability. Earlier in my career, I started running into a bunch of DevOps engineers that didn't understand like network topography.
Mhm.
And so you go look at their DevOps scripts, and all the IP addresses are default
Oh,
slash
wow.
24
Mm.
routes, right? You need to, well, I understand that because they've never had to configure a switch before.
Mhm.
But at the same time, that has to be understood when you're launching an infrastructure. So yeah, it's just we kind of test for some of those things to make sure that there's some real underlying understanding of the work that you're doing. And so since then we have network topography as a part of our panel interview. We want to make sure that they've kind of been there and done that, and aren't just pushing buttons in the console.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. I think I was really blessed in the fact that I've had a wide variety of tech jobs going from, help desk early on to database administration to, network engineer to software developer to SharePoint admin to, all these kind of like little pieces along the way that have given me a good overview and picture of the way like systems work, from the client all the way to the server side and all the things that are in between. And, when you talk to some people that haven't had that, exposure, it's really sort of challenging to bring them up to speed. But when they have, they can really find solutions to things and be adaptable, like you're talking about, and realize, like maybe maybe front end is not the best place for this, and maybe it's not back end either. Maybe it's some kind of network optimization that needs to happen to make things flow a little bit better. And I think just having that overall, I don't know what I'm trying to say exactly, but that overall,
Yeah. There's like a
energy.
resourcefulness. Yeah, there's this resourcefulness that you're looking for in an employee in any role. One of the kind of resourceful exercises is, what would you do if you were, let's say you were stuck in Europe, you're in Paris and you lose your passport and your wallet and you need to get home as quickly as possible. You got, no way to get out of there, no identification, no money. How would you handle that situation? You lost your cell phone. What would you do first? Well, when you're resourceful, you figure it out. And most of the time it's gonna come from talking to people. You're gonna talk to people. And so that's kind of that resourcefulness is really key, even in technology where like, well, I'm going to go talk to some people who work in this area. We have 120 employees, like, and you just go put on Slack. Hey, I'm trying to solve this problem. Has anybody solved this before? You have a quick little, huddle with them. Like, how would you approach this? Now we all have access to ChatGPT, so our resourcefulness should have gone through the roof, right? And so, yeah, being resourceful is an interesting skill, and it is the opposite of imposter syndrome. Being resourceful is how you stave off the feeling of inadequacy that comes from imposter syndrome. And yeah, so I think resourcefulness is like a key skill. And I've interviewed like interns with no intention to put them on client projects, but just to do some stuff internally. It's really interesting interns who've been resourceful to find problems to solve, and interns who are like, yeah, no, I've never solved any problems. I don't have any stories to tell. It's very different, right?
Mhm.
The high schooler that figured out how to set up a Raspberry Pi is in a world of different place than the guy who's saying, well, yeah, I want to get in IT and I'm expecting you to show me the ropes.
No, I think that is fantastic, and I hope all the people that are new to tech or interested in joining tech that are listening to this pay close attention to that, because when throughout my 25 plus years of career, doing this, the people that are the most successful are the ones that are doing exactly what you're saying. They're not just waiting for someone to give them a problem to solve and instructions on how to solve it. They're finding the problem, finding a solution to that, and then figuring out a way to make it happen. I can
Yeah,
go back to
100%.
to to you know 15 years ago. I was managing a team, and we were doing web applications, and we were building a website, or we had a website that we were supporting for. I worked for an ISP at the time, and one of the things on there is that one of my employees, he was a junior employee, junior developer, and he was doing front end work, and he said, "Hey, you know what? We have this online bill pay system where people go in and pay their bill, and again, bear in mind this is 15 plus years ago." And he goes, "What if we just put like a little pop up box when they log in that says, 'Want to go green? Click here,' and encourage people to go paperless." And it seems like a very no brainer now, but back then it was almost a novel idea to encourage people to go paperless and just get email results. He's like, "They're already logging in, so we know they're already tech savvy enough to do it." And he didn't go to marketing or any group like that to figure out, hey, is this something you want? He just built the tool, put it up there, and we had like 80,000 people that year go paperless. And if you think about how much that saving is in printing bills, mailing bills for 80,000 customers every month, it's quite significant off of a 5-minute code change that he did.
Yeah. And it also means that the MRR, ARR could be considered more stable because it wasn't collected revenue. It was automatically like
Correct.
these are also the people who are going to automatically pay their bill. So it's a great piece of data, even aside from the not having paper and not having to send bills and the postage and all the labor involved in sin. That's a great example. Yeah, I had an intern. I started probing him on, hey, what kind of problems have you solved with code? And he was interviewing with us for an operations job and he wanted to kind of convert that to working on the IT team. And come to find out, his family owned a logistics business. And I'm like, bro, go into that small business and just figure out what kind of spreadsheet you can replace with a tool, or
Mhm.
how you can bring the pricing from being in a bunch of people's heads to being a quoting tool that you can build. Like, your family owns a business, and there are tons of problems that you could solve digitally. Go do that, and then getting a job in tech will be easy for you.
Yep, absolutely. And it's one of those things where you're not only solving a problem for someone, you're also building yourself like a library of experience of things that you've done before and confidence into being able to do those things again.
Yeah, my wife, my son's 11, and like most 11-year-olds, he's on the Xbox all the time because that's how he connects with his friends. But then we were really struggling with the priority. His priority is to go play with his friends, but we have other priorities for him.
Mhm.
So I built my wife a little web app that disconnects his Xbox from the router and just disables his MAC address, so it has no internet. And so anytime we need compliance from him, we just disable his Xbox. He comes down. Okay, what do I got to do to get my Xbox turned back on? Does the chores, does the schoolwork, whatever we want him to do. Like, okay, cool. Now you can have it back on. And just, giving my wife the power to negotiate his priorities has enabled her to be a more effective parent without a bunch of, without as much energy. There's no, it's kind of reduced the amount of yelling and screaming needed to get compliance from the kids. Instead, it's just like, okay, your Xbox not on. This is what you need to do to get it back on. And that was a fun little Saturday initiative.
Yeah, we did the same, almost the same thing. So I have 3 kids, and internet was becoming a problem for sure. So we created this little app, and it connects with several different pieces, but it's literally sitting on there's an Android tablet we have sitting on our counter, and there's like 3 columns, one for each kid. At the top is a family calendar that links to our iCloud calendar that has like what events are going on. But then below that, there's chore lists for each one of them that's used. We use an app called Todoist that creates all of our chores. And as they check
Yeah.
them off, they have to check them all off. And once they do, then it sends a signal to our router to allow them to have internet at that point. So
That's
once
cool. That's
all the
next
kids have
level.
checked off all their chores, then all of a sudden they get internet. So and my wife can go in on her phone, or I can go in on my phone, and we can add more chores to it or change something up. But we have reoccurring ones that are like, the standards. You have to read for 20 minutes, you have to make your bed, you have to clean your room, you have to, have the dishes emptied, walk the dog, little basic ones. And then we'll occasionally add additional things to them, that they have to complete first. So every now and then my son would be like, "It's raining. I don't want to walk Lily. Can you like unlock the internet anyway?" Or something.
That's legit. That's next level. That's cool.
Yeah, it was a fun project. It took me a little bit longer than just a weekend, but it was a fun project to put together. But it's great that you're doing the same thing, and it is very helpful because you don't want to like keep your kids off of. In my opinion, I don't think you want to keep your kids off of electronics and internet altogether, but show them the value of combining things. And you know, my 11-year-old he shows me things on computers. He downloads little like the other day I went up there and he was sitting there and his mouse was just jerking all around really quickly. And I go, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I downloaded an auto bot that, some kind of little bot that like clicks an auto clicker that's clicking something on the game so you can get more coins or whatever. I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's legit. Yeah, we run a little Minecraft server from home, which, having my older son has figured that out. But it was really, really fun to teach him just basic Linux commands, to see him be able to figure that out. And Minecraft can actually be really complicated when you're doing like the mod packs and stuff. You have to align your mod packs with your Java version. So they're even learning like dependency management because they have to have the Java version aligned with everything. And so it's been really cool to watch him. Now he can set up a Minecraft server in 20 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. About 2 years ago, I sent my he's now 11 at the time he was 9, kid to this place. It's in our town called Code Ninjas, where they do little like
Uh-huh.
half day camps, and they did one on Minecraft on how to build mods. And he came back with all these little like mods. He had like poop emoji armor or something like that. And,
Yeah,
just little things like that he had put together. He thought it was the greatest thing. Uh,
totally.
Yeah, I think this is awesome. And I think, the things that we're doing with our children hopefully are building the next generation of tech leaders out there. And I hope other listeners are doing similar things to help encourage their children to be involved in tech as well.
Absolutely.
Ben, it's been a great conversation. I really appreciate you coming on and talking a lot about the 3 Vs and the things that you guys are doing to help build relationships and a good tech culture. How can people find out more about what you're doing, connect with you online, and learn more?
Yeah, the best way to contact me is go to particle41.com. There's a talk to Ben link. You can book a 30-minute meeting with me right from the website. So I'm super easy to get a hold of and reach out to. And then I also have a podcast, The Particle Accelerator, and would love
Great name.
to have you listen to a podcast.
Yeah, that's a great name. I definitely will link that in the show notes too at geekleader.com so people can go there and click through. Again, Ben, thanks so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate having you on.
Thanks, Sean. It was great.
Hope you enjoyed the show. Please go to geekleader.com to learn more about what this guest is up to, click on their links, and connect with them online. I would also greatly appreciate it if you could leave me a rating and review in Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to the show. And make sure you've subscribed if you haven't already. And if you feel so inclined, you can leave me a tip by going to geekleader.com/tip.